Hello, my multidimensional community, my soul family. Tonight I will tell you a story about what happened to me one night when one of my dearest, most powerful spiritual teachers showed me the dragons in their ethereal flesh. And this teacher is Ayahuasca. And before this very ceremony, I had 10 years of experience of working with plant medicine, and I was blessed to meet other spiritual teachers like Wachuma, tobacco, magic mushrooms. They all have their amazing, incredible wisdom. That particular night was especially fiery for me. Before that very night, I had several months of amazing, beautiful friendship and work with the dragons, doing Reiki and connecting with them as deep as I could every day, every moment. One night, one beautiful, fiery night was very special. When the ceremony was starting for me very intensely, it started very intensely, as it very often does for me. I'm a very sensitive person. It's one of those urges when you feel like sitting in a circle with people is just a lot, and all you want to do is go ground yourself in the soil, look at the trees, at the nature, and just very often it's an emergency for me. Like I am feeling that the soil is screaming and calling for me, and that if I won't touch dirt right now, that something bad will happen. So I roll my body out of the center, out of the building where the ceremony was happening. There was a beautiful bonfire. There were several people experiencing their ceremony. The first thing I see when I come into the big giant yard with several bushes and trees there, I see a big spiky earth dragon the size maybe of a truck, standing there and breathing very deeply, and I could feel his breath inside of me, and I was aware that other people do not see him because the way, their body movements, their bodies present themselves. And it was amazing to also perceive that this dragon is looking at me and is perceiving me as much as I am him. And Ayahuasca is working very intensely, and all I can do is just stand there and breathe with the dragon very deeply, and I can feel this dragon is communicating with me telepathically, and I really want to come closer. I crawl kind of with the weird Tai Chi movements towards him, and I find a comfortable distance between me and him, and we start a very interesting communication. And his whole body is made out of leaves and branches and sticks, but in a way that it's all cohesive, and it all creates this beautiful, shiny, spiky body that is breathing and moving. And sometimes he would come closer, sometimes he would back away. And I feel he's telling me to focus my attention on my heart. So I start doing that, and I put my whole inner vision towards my chest, and I start to breathe in and out this area, breathe in and out of the reality. And when I open my eyes, I see the whole yard, the whole garden filled with golden shining ley lines. And they are so, how can I say, like plasma, alive almost, and they're tingling and wiggling a little bit as you move around. I started kind of going up and down with my body to really look at them and see them and perceive them, and they were intertwined and going different directions as the dragon was looking at me. And then all of a sudden, after all of this observation of ley lines and Tai Chi dance and getting familiar with this earth dragon, I feel the thought come into my head all of a sudden that if I am ready to absorb and take in all the Christ consciousness that I can, and if so, I need to erase and delete all of that that doesn't serve me within the image of Uliania, of me, and who is me and who is Uliania. That person should die right now, this very moment, and I could feel the dragon is waiting. He's waiting for my response right now. And usually I'm it's very easy for me to decide fast in stressful situations, but that wasn't like that. And the urgency of it kind of put me in a slight little paralysis when I realized that I need support, that I am ready. I am almost ready, and I'm ready to die, and I'm ready to erase all of the self-image that I have about me as a human, as a woman, as whatever roles I was carrying until that very moment. So I stood there for a moment when I called for some sort of help. I really needed some support, some psychic support. And for that very reason, I lifted my eyes up to look at the sky, and the whole sky was filled with a gigantic air dragon filled out of clouds. And it was so precise in the contours and the whole body. It was a real gigantic, enormous sky-sized dragon that was perceiving me as I am perceiving him. And I could feel he is feeling my emotions. And I could feel as I look at them, he was transmitting the most amazing sense of tranquility and confidence and the support that I really much needed. And when I sent him a thought that just what should I do? Just what should I do? I looked at the dragon, and the dragon smiled with his whole face, and he kind of curled in a little ball as we crawl when we really want to sleep in this fetus position. It makes us feel very protected and safe. He did that with his tail, and he rolled it inwards in a spiraling motion, which created like a beautiful spiraling mandala in the sky with his big smile, which was a little bit surprising for me, even in the state of ayahuasca, when sometimes you see incredible things that you wouldn't imagine are existing. And I immediately felt better. I straightened my body, and I did kind of the same thing when I bent my tailbone inwards to straighten my spine more, and they did nice big breaths, and there was a big flash of light when I felt that I was erased for a second, but then filled with something beautiful. It was me, but not me. And the dragon was still there looking at me, the same as the air dragon was still in the sky, observing and witnessing the alchemy of human consciousness, creating magic with the elements, with its surroundings, and playing with, the frequencies, which was just amazing. After that, I felt, and I was pulled towards the water, because there's still maybe some logical part of you that is functioning. So I'm thinking to myself, I saw an earth dragon and he was following me within all of that night, within the garden, jumping from one bush to another, which was really cool, which was really funny. I could feel a spiky sense of humor and care and much love. The air dragon wasn't there all the time, but then I'm like, how, I really want to meet the water dragon, because now that it's becoming, a pattern is crystallizing. If I've seen the air dragon, I've seen the earth dragon, and there's a body of the water. There was a little pool on the other side of the yard that was empty, that was all beautifully shadowed, and you could be alone and do your thing. So I went there and I was immediately pulled to touch the water. And the water had its own consciousness, like everything in the world does. Everything is conscious. So the water kind of whispered to me to touch it, and I touched it. And because the way ayahuasca works, very often the human body is shivering and shaking, so I was all shaking from so much energies and vibration and openness, and that would create a beautiful ripple effect. And when you would focus and meditate on this water, all I could see is the patterns of the flower of life coming out of my hands and filling up all the pool and all the water, reflecting beautifully on its bottom in the way the moon was shining on the water, and the street lights. There were some street lights, so also the game of the light and the water with the ripples was mind-blowing. And there was so much information coming in from the consciousness of water, and I would feel a very subtle, very, very tender and very thin entity drifting around in the water, which I knew it was the mysterious water dragon, a snaky, very hard to spot and living within the water, kind of, checking you out. And I was very happy with the water until my ego turned on, because very often it does, even within the ayahuasca ceremony. And I thought to myself, what happens? Can I produce the same effect in the water, produce the sacred geometry patterns in the water without touching the water with my hand? Because I've seen amazing things happen within the ceremonies, outside the ceremonies, so I wasn't even saying it in an imaginary way. I was saying it to myself very seriously, like, let's try it. And psychically, I took the hand off and I started, pulling down the vibrations of the hand, and immediately a thought from outside came into my body, filled my whole body with a fact that it was almost like somebody was telling me, stop underestimating and undervaluing the power of the touch. Why do you always need to live psychically? And this is my personal thing. When I want to feel the limits of my mind and discover the limits of my consciousness, where are the borders of its power? And this is my lifelong adventure, exploring the powers of consciousness. But then this very consciousness that was greater, that was bigger than me, told me that it is a trick, that is a certain illusion that takes you away from the wholesomeness of your whole human experience, because the body is sacred as well. The body is its own magic, and this is why there is a touch in certain areas and situations that the touch is all that's needed. And I remember being paralyzed by this wisdom and the importance of physicality and skin and touching, whether it's a creature, a human being, whether it's an element like water or air. Sometimes your touch could be very alchemical and very important to experience. And then the ceremony took me to the tobacco application, the shamanic snuff it's called. It is the powder made out of mapacho and other plants and roots that you can apply and connect to the spirit of tobacco, and it can also enhance and give you more clarity within the ayahuasca ceremony. So I did the tobacco, and it was near the bonfire where, of course, the fire dragon should come. And I was sitting in front of the fire, because this is where logically one would think you would want to seek for a fire dragon. And I sat there for a while, not seeing anything in the bonfire, in the fire in front of me. And I would feel that something is not right. I'm not looking where I should be looking. And I closed my eyes. And the first thing I felt was this even bigger and more bright fire inside of my chest, burning. And I would feel a being there, and I knew exactly what it was. It was a fire dragon birthing and flying out of my chest from inside of me, where I understood that the last dragon, the fire dragon, was found inside of me. And it was an incredible thing to witness and to really see it for your eyes, that many things you won't find that you're looking for outside of you, and you will find them inside of you. And I immediately knew that I had my fire initiation as the dragon spread his wings and flew out and came back into my chest, keeping the fire lit, keeping my awareness lit and crisp and focused, knowing that I have my fire within me and that my fire dragon lives inside of my heart, which is the last fourth dragon, guys. And this was an incredible epiphany for me, realization of things that are known, that you read about, but very often you do not witness it, you do not experience it. And it was amazing, and I was very honored to meet all those elemental dragons, and I felt my connection strengthened with this experience, getting even stronger as I'm telling it to you guys. So if you want to meet and connect to your dragon, I would always recommend to go within your heart and look within your heart, within the fire of your heart, because there might be a dragon waiting for you. And we thank the dragons and the elements of earth. And I thank you, friends. May your dragons be with you